Well,
Introduce
everything's going to the dogs.
our special guest.
Yeah. This is our special guest on the Wild Bob and Ronnie Show. This is our Tuesday night edition coming to you from La Follette, Tennessee, US of A. And we have not heard any bombs explode over Damascus yet.
Do you think that, who do you think done the gas?
Oh, I'm sure it was, what's his name?
Assad?
Huh?
Assad?
Assad, yeah.
How can you be sure?
Well, first of all, he's the only one that's got any.
I know, but them rebels has got some too.
I don't think so.
They recovered some there whenever they raided something.
Well, I think so, but basically, the area that was gassed was one that, what's his name, Assad, went back in there and shelled afterwards and killed additional people.
Well, the reason that I don't know about that gassing is because they didn't have anything to gain by it. They knew they was going to get people mad at them. They was winning anyway. I think the rebels done it.
I don't know. There could be an effort to draw us in, you know.
They was losing.
Huh?
They were losing.
Well, they were losing territory, yeah. They sure are.
I mean, the rebels were losing.
Yeah, I know. I said
Okay.
they're losing territory.
And I think they bombed their people in order to get help. But that's just me.
But why would Assad go back in there and shell that area and clean it up to hide the evidence?
Well, in the first place, I'm not sure that he did. I don't believe nothing they tell us about anything.
Yeah.
But it don't.
Well, we'll just go to Al Jazeera tonight. They'll give us his. Correct.
But the whole point is, if you're winning, and what's the use in inviting more trouble on yourself? I'm just not convinced.
Well, you know.
Of course, you may have thought that we wouldn't.
Winning, in probably Assad's mind, means only when he has squashed the opposition.
Well, I'm still with Sarah Palin. Let's just let Allah sort it out.
Right. Well, just like Barack Obama, he cannot stand any opposition at all.
Well, I figure if John McCain is for bombing, we ought to stay home.
Probably. But the way I look at it, whether we do or whether we don't, the president issued his red line back almost, what?
A year ago.
A year ago, okay. Now, he didn't do anything, but if he was going to wait till something else happened, rather than having to organize at that time, he ought to have been sitting on dead ready to go the first minute he could determine to his satisfaction or to the United States satisfaction that which side had done it. He ought to have been sitting on dead ready to go. He ought to have had his coalition all drawn up, and he ought to have already been before Congress for an authorization that if this happens.
Well, now, here's the thing. I don't think you should have issued a red line warning to start with.
Especially not if I tell you to spit over my hand, you know.
And spit over my hand again.
And then you tell me to spit in my face again. You know, you don't do that.
Well, but what I'm saying, Gaddafi was a terrible feller, but we could manage him. We're better off with him in Libya than what we've got now.
Than what we got now.
Assad, he's an awful guy too, but I don't know that we ain't better off with him than we are. And we're tickled to get old Hosni Mubarak. We're tickled to death to get him started back. Because we got in a lot worse shape without him than we were in with him.
Well, you know, you take all of Obama's policies have been backwards in the Mid-East. Every one of them have been backwards and to the detriment of the United States. Now, assuming that we're going to act against Assad, and assuming that Iran is going to do as much as they can to disrupt things, and assuming that Russia and China are going to give Iran their backing.
Speaking of Iran, that worked out real good getting rid of old Shah, don't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Reza Pahlavi.
Right. But, did you know she was teaching down at the University of South Carolina, his wife?
No, I didn't know that.
She sure was, and I think she is retired down that way somewhere.
And we was better off with him over there, and the people were better off with him.
Sure. They had progressive things coming on as far as education and women's rights and that sort of thing.
And not worried about getting annihilated.
Right. Well, also, when you let a small, maybe not small, but when you let a bunch that have extreme views.
I mean, like we got in Washington.
Right.
Same people took over up there.
No, the Tea Party is the one supposed to have the extreme views. You know, we're the terrorists, you know. But when you let that bunch, just like McBark, he kept the Muslim Brotherhood in check, you know. And then Obama goes and puts them in power.
Yeah.
Now they've been thrown out, and all of your neighboring Arab countries are contributing to Egypt in order to keep the military in power until they can bring about the right kind of order and civilian government.
What you have to do, sometimes you have to work with bad people. We should not be over there trying to make life better for other people in other countries. We ought to be over there making sure they don't make life worse for us here.
That's exactly right. I agree with that 100%.
And if it ain't going to do us any good, we don't need to get involved in it.
See, I think his policies in Libya were wrong because they had no idea who they were backing against Daffy Duck. And they were bad in Egypt because they had no idea who controlled the population on the streets. And that was the Muslim Brotherhood that intimidated everybody else. And of course, Mubarak had some enemies also, you know. But I think they were bad there. And naturally, our policy in Iran was not right when we allowed the Ayatollah Khomeini to come marching back in like Charles de Gaulle did after the end of the Second World War. So I think we've had a number of foreign policy failures, not just with Barack Obama, but we've had more of them under him.
He's got a real good track record.
Yeah, he's got a terrific track record.
I'll tell you something else that I'm kind of tired of hearing about. I've been listening because this is the 50th anniversary of Martin Luther King's speech.
Right.
I've been hearing all week these people that have started out just like I did, and they're millionaires and in some cases billionaires, complaining about how hard it is on a black man or woman in this country.
Right.
I'm getting tired of hearing it. If it's so bad, I mean, how did you get to be a millionaire of doing rap music? Or how did you get to be a billionaire being a talk show host? It must not be too bad.
No,
if they could get there by working and trying, some more people could too.
Hopefully, maybe I'll have worked out tomorrow for a little bit of a soapbox pontification on what I think the real problem is with race in this country between the black people and everybody else. It's not just black and between the white people, it's black people and everybody else. And of course, I guess you saw the video that a guy from Homeland Security had, in which he was advocating a race war.
Yeah.
And he worked for Homeland Security. Yeah. And then with about 2 billion rounds of ammunition at their disposal, which is very, very scary. And you know, we can ramble on here and about different things, but I will mention that probably one of the best things that's happened in Homeland Security is the departure of what's her name? Neapolitano.
Yeah. Napolitano.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't
She's going to make ice cream now, ain't she?
Yeah, she makes that triple flavored ice cream. Well, there's one of them back there in the chair.
Yeah, they can't decide which one they want to sit in.
Yeah, folks, we got some guest stars here that roaming around the studio. And,
we're going to have something to spray for them next week.
but you know, what I was saying about having something worked up, I've given a lot of thought to problems we have in this country as far as race relations are concerned. And of course, we got a group of people that nobody has ever been any crueler to than to the Native American people. Now, black people can say what they want to. They have never been treated as cruelly as the American Indian, okay? Especially since there were different situations. We came in and enslaved the Native American population, put them where we wanted them, and did what we wanted to them. The black man was brought here from a different area. And
it was an awful thing, but when they got here, the people that owned them, and I wouldn't want to be owned, but the people that owned them tried to keep them alive. The only thing ever done to the Indians try to kill them.
Right, yeah. Well, what I was going to say, and I've mentioned this before, and this is not in any way, should not be in any way construed that I am a racist, because I'm going to mention one more time that I lived in a mixed racial house, that I'm of mixed racial blood, from Black Dutch or Melungeon, whatever you want to call it, to American Indian, to Irish and Scotch, and a little bit of rum on the side.
I was going to say, a whole lot of gin, too.
Gin's not bad. Good slow gin with a good drink, summertime's real good. But with that said, that I have a very
bad in winter either.
varied background, and I think hopefully a very wide view of things that have happened during the course of my 78, 79 years. Okay, and I go all the way back to the time when black people, I could go to town as a little kid with my dad, and when a black man met a white person, he stepped off the curb and tipped his hat. Now, I'm just stating what happened. I'm not advocating that that was right. In fact, I think it was wrong, because it showed a lack of dignity being accredited to that person that stepped off of the sidewalk. Now, I firmly believe that the black people's main problem here in this country is that, unlike most of the people that have come to this country, the Irish, who nobody would associate with, they were dirty, nasty, and everything else, would have nothing to do with them. The same thing until they fought their way to the top of the ladder in a number of ways. The Italians, same way, nobody would have anything to do with the Italians when they came. The Puerto Ricans, the same thing. The Cubans, the same thing.
The hunks. The hunks.
Yeah.
The people of what is that? Balkan origin. And then you've got, well, all of them. As they came through in waves, they were always at the bottom of the heap.
Right, they were at the bottom of the list now.
But they come here to get ahead.
Right, and they came here and they assimilated. They gave up none of their native dignity, but they assimilated into the population. And as I've mentioned before, America has always been the great melting pot in which and that's what's given us our strength and our vigor, a healthy, robust bunch of offsprings, and people that were desirous of getting ahead. Now the black man, on the other hand, back when he was a slave, he had no reason to want to assimilate. Okay, in fact, he could not have if he had wanted to.
No, he didn't come here to get ahead either. He come
No,
here because he didn't have no
didn't come
choice.
here to get ahead, but they could not have assimilated anyhow. Once they gained their freedom, it was hard for them to assimilate. Okay, it was hard for people to accept them. Okay, as they assimilated. Probably a little harder than it was to accept the Irish or the Italians or the Puerto Ricans or the Chinese. Probably just a little bit harder to do that. That's granted, okay. However, starting in 1954, when they passed Civil Rights Act?
64.
Was it 64? What happened in 54?
Well, they had
54. I know what happened.
Rosa Parks.
54 Pontiac Chieftain come out.
No, yeah.
Okay.
55 and a half, GM come out with a V8.
Right.
55 and a half.
55 they come out, just 55.
Well, there's in the middle of the year, was it a 54 and a half? They made a 50.
Maybe 54 and a half, because I had 55 Chevrolet, I had a 265 motor in it that come from the factory.
Yeah, I know they were in 65, 55, but they had a half year production when they started.
Well, it must have been 54 and a half.
54 and a half, okay.
Okay. But you had the Civil Rights Movement, okay? You've had the Voting Rights Act. You've had affirmative action. You've had the Great Society. You've had all